Welcome to Whiskey's a Journey. My name is Peter Fasciano.
And I'm Mary Bridget Fasciano, Peter's sister, back for another exciting episode of Sip It or Skip It.
Yep. So if you're not familiar with this episode, I have all of my whiskeys randomized on my randomized wheel. People always ask what the name of this app is, and I do believe it is called Spin the Wheel Randomized Picker or Random Picker. So we're going to spin the wheel. Whatever it selects, we're going to pull it off the shelf, pour it, do a quick review, and then let you know whether or not I or we are going to keep sipping on the bottle until it's gone and replace it because we like it.
Or if we are going to skip buying it again and purchase something else in its place.
Right. So if that sounds good to you and you are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. There's like a little icon right here. Just go ahead and click on that and become part of the not membership, but part of the community.
The community.
All right, spin the wheel, and we'll see what we're reviewing. We're not going to hold it up because eye stuff, and it doesn't.
Two eyes make it blurry.
Yeah, and it doesn't come into focus. So.
Calumet 14.
I think you're going to like.
Isn't it peed in?
No, I think you're going to like this one.
Okay. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, Calumet 14. So they have like a Calumet 8, 14, 15, 16. It's a bourbon.
Nice.
So let me go ahead and get it out of.
Pull it off the shelf.
It's not in the shelf. It's actually in the next room over.
Many whiskeys. You started
I rearranged everything. So I'll be right back. So Calumet 14 is a 14-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon. That's all I have to say about that. And I really do think that you're going to...
Like this? Is it like my style of bourbon?
Holy cow. We're not going to drink that much.
I'm
getting a little jumpy on my pours here. So I just need to familiarize myself with this. As I'm looking at this, all the information for this bottle is right here, along with my totals or tallies up to this point of all of my Sip It or Skip It's. There's also a link in the description below. You can go ahead and click on that and look at the entire history. It's right here. So
96.2 proof.
I thought it was a little higher than that. So it's 96.2 proof, 48.1% ABV, single barrel black. So, all right. It's been a while since you've been here, so I'm going to defer the first nosing to you and see what you're getting, because I definitely get...
That's a lot of pressure.
I get a specific flavor profile and aromas from all of the Calumets. So before I speak my piece, let's see what you have.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm being tested.
You're always being tested.
I know.
But not judged.
Aw.
Never judged.
All right, vanilla.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Some brown sugar.
Okay. That's low-hanging fruit for bourbons. Oh, it smells like vanilla and brown sugar.
Well, I'm not getting any maple.
Okay.
Out of it, like the typical. What fruit am I getting?
I will say that I do get a fruit.
Is that pineapple? Did you notice how there was a question at the end of that? That went up, pineapple?
Okay. So vanilla, brown sugar, pineapple.
Pineapple, do you get?
I get pretty heavy brown sugar, vanilla, and cherry.
Cherry.
And there's a really good oak presence as well. Not to the point where it's dusty, but it has a little bit of like a leather book binding.
Okay.
A leather book or a leather satchel or
I can see that.
Wallet.
Yeah.
And I think those leather notes, for me, are the age or the oak or the barrel itself. So that's what I get.
Okay.
Oak, leather.
Brown sugar, leather.
Brown sugar.
Cherries. I'm trying to pick up on the cherry.
And I could see a little bit of pineapple. I would think that there would be a little bit more of a darker fruit note here. Cherries, raspberries, strawberries, maybe like I think I may have said this before, a compote? Is it a compote, like a bunch of fruits?
Oh, where you mix them all together?
Mix them down and then reduce them. I just get a very thick, rich, red fruit, metally
Yeah.
concentration.
Not picking that up.
Okay. And surprisingly, a good amount of ABV, even though it's, what we say, 97
90
or 96.2?
96.2.
All right. Let's get it on the palate. Cheers.
Cheers.
Here's to the end of a long day.
Yes.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, those are going to cause a problem.
Let me take off my bracelet.
You don't take them off, just don't bang them on the table. Yeah, that's a good, it's a good amount of ABV. I think it is hitting the palate just right. It's not going to blow out your palate. There's enough heat there to know that you're drinking alcohol. I think the oak note is the first thing that hits the tongue as it travels to the back for like from the arrival to the mid palate to the finish. Those cherry notes or those red fruit notes kind of elevate. A little bit of tannin on the side. At least this is how bourbons or whiskeys hit my palate. I end up getting a good amount of barrel char or barrel tannin on the side. And that's where the bitterness comes in for me. I don't think this is reaching the point where it's overly bitter. It just shows you that it's there, fades away, and then what you're left with is a good, well-rounded 14-year-old bourbon, I think. Those are my thoughts. That's why I have a channel, to give you guys my thoughts.
That's the purpose.
Yeah, I think it's good. Overall, decent. I wouldn't say that it is the best bourbon that I've had, but I definitely think that it's an easy drinker. It's something that you can sit down with. It's not very complex to me, and you can just drink it and enjoy it, and it's not going to consume the conversation. I think it's something that you can pour, you can hang out with your friends, family, and it's kind of something that's in the background.
That second sip was better. I think it's definitely.
You took a second sip?
Oh no, I didn't. I mean,
Second sip.
Had I taken the second sip, I think it would have been better. I would like it a little sweeter, like a little more fruit forward versus oaky leather forward. And
I
it's
agree.
very oaky leather forward. I would like it to start sweet and finish more oaky and leather instead of there's a hint of sweetness,
Yeah.
but it's not enough for me.
I think I recognized with my palate, I like sweet up front, followed by a little bit of spice, a tannin, maybe a punch of ABV, and then I like that leather, long, oaky kind of finish.
Yeah. It does definitely coat your tongue. So when you drink it, it's not a thin whiskey. It leaves like a nice, it's like thick and then kind of leaves that leathery film on your tongue. I just wish, ooh.
I always have to refresh my memory because I can never remember.
My sip it or skip it.
So what do you, now that you saw the price, but just taking the price out of it and just concentrating on the flavor alone, do you think that there are other bourbons out there that you enjoy more than
Yes.
this?
Yeah. This ends a little too bitter for me.
Yeah, I agree too. There are other bourbons that I like more than this, and then especially at the price, $114,
$114.
maybe a little $115. But that was at the time that I originally purchased this. It might be more. I'm not sure. Again, I'm always curious on where you're watching from and how much these things are going for your market. I don't know if Phoenix, Arizona is higher or lower on average than the other places. I think we're kind of maybe like right there in the middle. And
Seems like that from the comments that you get from people.
yeah, I think so. And we do for Phoenix, Arizona. I think we actually can get a lot of things that other parts of the country cannot, which I can never understand that. So let me know in the comments down below if you do see this, how much are you paying for it, and whether or not you think this is one of the better ones in the lineup. The 8, the 10. Is there a 10? I think an 8, a 10, the 14, the 15, and the 16. All right.
Do you know offhand? Like, is there one that you like better?
I actually did a First Friday flight fight with all of the Calumets.
Oh.
So before
Do you remember what it was that you ended up liking?
I want to
best?
say that I do remember, but we'll reveal it after we let everyone know if these are sips or skips for us. So, since you are building a bourbon collection or a whiskey collection, would this be a sip or a skip? Would this be something that you would put in your bar for people to have?
On on my first initial nose and the first sip, because I was like, ooh, I like that. But then after having the second and the third sip, I realized, no, I think this would be a skip for me, especially at the price. It doesn't have, especially for a newer whiskey drinker, it doesn't have the amount of sweetness that I would prefer. Too much bitterness and oak is behind. Now I could see, not for that price, but I could see liking this like in an old fashioned where there's not a whole lot of sweetness to it, so it's not going to make the old fashioned taste
Even sweeter.
That this would be something good to put in an old fashioned if I was going to make it with a bourbon versus a rye, to balance out the sweetness of the either the maple syrup or the what do you call it when you boil sugar down when you mix it with water.
A simple syrup?
Simple syrup. Yeah. That because you don't. We made the mistake at my house.
Well, you made the mistake.
I made the mistake.
So Josh and Aaron, if you're watching this Stuff and Whiskey, Mary Bridget tried.
I watched your video,
your old-fashioned
on
video.
your old-fashioned, and I was like, oh, we have all that at the house. Yeah. Let's give it a try. And so I made it with the maple syrup and the Grand Marnier, and I loved it. But after a couple sips, even when you were saying add a little bit more whiskey, so that it's more whiskey forward versus sweet forward, it was pretty sweet. But I think the maple syrup that I used from Costco was a sweeter maple syrup than maple syrup typically is. It's their bourbon barrel maple syrup.
But along with the cocktail cherry juice too.
It was way too sweet.
Way too sweet for me.
Yeah.
I can see.
But I used a sweet whiskey. I think I ended up using, what's the one that I love with the hair?
The Pipe Dream.
The Pipe Dream. I used Pipe Dream in with it. With Pipe Dream is a sweeter bourbon, and so it ended up making it a little too sweet. Okay. So I could see this. Long story short, got on a rant. Long story long. This would be better because it would make my old fashioned not as sweet forward.
So I'm going to agree with my sister. This is going to be a skip for me as well. There is not enough sweet to balance out the spice, and even though the spice is not really there, I think it could be more balanced and more complex, and I think the 15 does better for me than the 14 and the 16. I know when I first got the 16, it was almost one of the most amazing bourbons that I've ever had. Ooh. But it doesn't do well in blinds for me, and there's a medicinal cherry note that comes across in the 16 that the 15 does not. I would prefer the 15. If I had to get anything in the lineup, I would just concentrate on the 15. Sorry, I would just concentrate on the 15. So it's a skip for both of us. Maybe that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just not something that I would replace to have in my personal collection going forward.
Especially at that price.
Yeah, at $114.
It tastes spice. So we have talked about before, how do you differentiate? And that was kind of one of my questions. How do I differentiate between what I'm getting is spice versus ABV? And this definitely has a spice that stays on the tongue, but when I look at the ABV, it's only 92, which is not high, correct? Right. So it definitely has a spice to it also that sticks around that I'm not as fond of, along with that, lingering wood and oak flavors. Yeah. So, bummer.
Yep. So that's where we're going to leave it. It's a skip for both of us. So wherever you're at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it. And until the next time, talk to everybody later.
Cheers.
Bye.